In the high-stakes world of global trade, all eyes are on Stockholm, where top U.S. and Chinese officials are trying to extend a fragile truce in their long-running tariff war. The aim is simple: avoid a fresh round of punishing duties on billions of dollars worth of goods and clear the way for a possible meeting between Presidents Donald Trump and Xi Jinping later this year. Leading the talks are U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng. They face a hard deadline of August 12th, when the current agreement expires. If no progress is made, both sides could snap back to much higher tariffs. Those duties, taxes on imported goods, drive up prices on everything from electronics to car parts, costs that ultimately land on consumers and businesses.
Today's negotiations cap an escalation that began earlier this year. In February, Washington slapped tariffs on Chinese products, citing Beijing's failure to curb the export of chemicals used to make fentanyl, a lethal synthetic opioid. China retaliated almost immediately. By April, U.S. duties on some Chinese goods had soared to 145%. Beijing answered in kind. After emergency talks in Geneva and London, the two sides agreed to a temporary status quo. The United States lowered most tariffs to 30%, and China cut its own to 10%. One exception remains: a 20% U.S. surcharge tied directly to the fentanyl dispute.
Each delegation arrives in Stockholm with a standard to-do list. Washington wants Beijing to buy more American products, tackle what it calls industrial overcapacity, factories that churn out more steel, solar panels, and other goods than the market can absorb, and tighten controls on fentanyl-related chemicals. Reducing last year's nearly $300 billion U.S. trade deficit with China is a top priority.
Beijing's message centers on mutual respect, equality, and win-win cooperation. Chief among its demands, removal of that 20% fentanyl tariff. As a goodwill gesture, China recently stepped up controls on two key fentanyl ingredients. Premier Li Chong has also acknowledged concerns about industrial overcapacity, noting that some believe China's manufacturing muscle has become too strong. The stakes are enormous. A renewed tariff war could rattle global supply chains, unsettle financial markets, and slow growth worldwide. Most analysts expect the talks to yield an extension of the current truce, perhaps another 90 days, rather than a sweeping settlement. Major tariff rollbacks are likely to be reserved for a later, higher-level summit between Presidents Trump and Xi. Still, the mood in Stockholm matters. A cooperative tone could keep doors open for broader negotiations on everything from technology transfers to intellectual property rules. A collapse, on the other hand, would mean tariffs snapping back to their peak levels, triggering higher prices and renewed uncertainty for companies and consumers on both sides of the Pacific.
For now, the world waits to see whether Stockholm produces enough common ground to keep the peace, at least temporarily, and set the stage for the next round of diplomacy at the very top.